Hi everyone, it's Tanishka. Yeah, look, in the last, God, not even 24 hours, I've just heard of a couple of guys that are really descending into, suicidal tendencies and depression. And I noticed that on the Venus Descent support page that I created, we haven't had any guys, which is not unusual. You know, women tend to talk, whereas men tend to go into a cave when the shadow is up. But, this Venus descent in Scorpio is really going to bring up shadow feminine for people to look at. And this is actually probably going to be more testing for guys than it is for women, because after 5,000 years of patriarchal consciousness, there's a societal sort of oppression of feminine qualities and traits in our men. So when they experience vulnerability, when they experience intense emotion, which is what, Venus and Scorpio is likely to bring up, then, it can elicit stories of how unacceptable or weak they are, which of course is a distortion. It's not the truth. So this is not for women to rescue men, okay? Easier said than done. If there's someone that you love and they're spiraling and you can't seem to help them, you will emasculate them if you try to help them, okay? Because that's mothering them. They have to save themselves. But this is, when we can suggest tools, okay? So that's things like journaling, doing art, even just moving their energy, going for a run. But, often when we are depressed, it's because there's a lot of intense, unresolved experiences surfacing from within, and it can feel very heavy. It's like we're cloaked in lethargy and it draws us deep within. So we don't have the energy necessarily to even go out for a walk, let alone go for a run. So just moving the energy gently, such as doing some artwork, and these are feminine processes, so they often won't even occur to a man who's disowned his feminine to do. The other thing is we're going to see the talk that I'm doing here in Ubud on how to navigate the downward spiral, the descent journey, the shamanic path. We're going to see if we can do that as a live stream. So stay tuned on that so that you don't just have to be in Ubud to attend. But also this is, a sort of a shout out to the guys to say, look, I know being the moon woman, a lot of people would associate this with being a feminine page, and yes, 85% of people that follow me are women. However, this is a community of men and women, and we welcome the brothers to this support group, by bringing out the positive feminine traits, such as being able to connect with your feelings and acknowledge what you're feeling and share what you're feeling. You're going to help yourself move through this. Whereas if you just retreat, you're likely to go into stagnation. Yeah. So, community is a feminine construct. Yeah. It's about finding our power by coming together. And this isn't saying that, men can't do community. It's about men needing to develop their feminine traits. And this is something that I'll be focusing on in the Grail retreats with men, empowering their feminine so that it can be a real ally for them, particularly during, times such as Venus descent, or during the, the solar descent of winter solstice, or even during dark moon. And it's almost at dark moon. Well, it is dark moon now. It's exact new moon tomorrow. So this is a very challenging time with both Venus descending and the moon. So, if you can, try not to be reactive to anybody that's in shadow and is sort of acting out, saying hurtful things. Just, give them some empowering insight or some inspiration, suggest they do things to help themselves. But yeah, don't allow yourself to jump into the pit with them. Okay, so especially if you're empathic, this doesn't help anybody. Okay, so ensure that you don't try to rescue anyone, that you really keep your own equilibrium, your own center, your own self-care practices going. But yeah, make it clear that this is a time when you will experience an ego death, or you will have ideations of physical death, because something needs to die. Yeah, so in our culture, we're not encouraged to acknowledge when we're feeling dark, let alone share that information with other people. But the opposite is true. We need to do that if we are going to get the supportive community that we need. And it's never just one person or one modality, one therapist that's going to save us. We have to save ourselves. And it's about following our intuition one step at a time. Even if you just sit down and attune to your heart and go, in this moment, what do I need to do? What am I feeling? What do I need? And it might be that you need to just get fetal and have a damn good cry. It might be that you need 5 baths to feel held in that amniotic fluid, Or it might be that you need to get in your car, put on some metal and scream your fucking lungs out. But just keep bringing it back to, what am I feeling? What do I need? And don't try and get ahead of yourself, just one step at a time, not even one day at a time, moment to moment. And if you are feeling, really dark, then just look at what supports are around you. And it might be, a free 24-hour counseling service. But, often when we're feeling really imploded, really dark, we can feel like we don't want to burden anybody else with the darkness that is surfacing within us. But the isolation actually makes it harder to shift, because when we've spiraled that deeply, when we're really in those treacly emotions like shame, like grief, like resentment, like rage, it can be very hard to get ourselves out of the pit on our own. But do remember that depression is often the suppression of emotion, of what was alive, and we judged it, we feared it, and we put a lid on it. So it may be that you actually just need to allow yourself to feel those darker emotions, those darker feelings, in order to then shift out of them. Because when we allow ourselves to feel authentic rage or authentic grief, we then go to the other polarity and we feel, cleansed, or we feel like, we were able to, move the energy that was stuck. So, it's like women can't be, or men can't be orgasmic, full body orgasmic, unless they are prepared to feel deep emotional pain. So that's the payoff. The more you're prepared to go there, the more that you are, willing to cry, to feel that intense chaos and madness of those big dark emotions, then the more you're going to be able to laugh more easily, the more you're going to be able to, feel sensually alive, the more you're going to be able to feel erotically charged. So, get down, get dirty, and don't judge it. Don't make a story about it. Just get the raw emotion out, because that's what Scorpio asks us to do in order to transform. We've got to go through the storm knowing that it is that elemental experience that will shift the energy, that will transform it. And only when we then get that out is the vessel clear for us to receive insights. You're not going to get out of this by problem solving, by thinking it through, and whilst it can be handy to, glean insights by watching a video or reading a book, particularly if you're so depressed you literally can't get out of bed, that's great, because the first, seed of change is a thought, you know, it's a seed of consciousness. It's the spark of an idea that brings light to the darkness. But as soon as you can move the energy, and it might be just putting on some music and moving, you know, on the floor in your lounge room, or your bedroom, but yeah, with your eyes closed, allowing the soul to express what it needs to on sound, give it a color, give it a shape, and allow that energy to move and invite that energy up, you know, allow it to become more vibrant, bigger, allow it to, that color or that feeling to absolutely consume your whole body, so that instead of suppressing it, you're willing it, you're bringing it up, you're bringing it on in order to go through the intensity of the crucible of that transformation to transmute it. So I hope that's some help. Do avail yourself to the support that's there. There is a community that's just sprung up overnight. It's called the 2018 Venus Descent Support Group. It is for the brotherhood and the sisterhood to just be moving through these energies as we do this collective descent through our issues around lovability, our relationship patterns and stories, the blocks and the sabotaging, you know, patterns we have around intimacy. Yeah, I mean, you name it, anything that comes up, really. You can just blame it on the Venus descent in Scorpio. All right, blessings to you all. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. Ciao.